Hello and welcome to the Inseparable Joy podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Curry, and today I have a question for you. Have you ever heard this expression, when God closes a window, a door opens someplace else? Is that true? Have you experienced that? Well, I have. Even this last week, I had something happen to me that was very upsetting, and I saw God's hand in it. I'd like to tell you this story, and I hope that it encourages you to not get discouraged when things don't seem to go your way. So, pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. I don't really know what it is about these days since the time of COVID, or I don't really get it, but people are just flat out rude, and they can be so just unkind, and I don't know how to put it into words, but it just seems like there's just like this unrest, and people are just, I don't know if anxious or just their adrenaline's going, the fight or flight after the whole COVID thing. There was a restaurant up in Charlevoix, just north of here, and they closed their doors because of how rude the customers were. That just is crazy to me. That is how they make money. They have to be serving food and drinks and making money that way. But man, they had a little stint of customers that were incredibly rude and mean to their staff. And so they decided to close their doors. Sad to say, like several months later, I went back there and I believe that restaurant is closed now. So what is it? Why are people just so angry? And they're just ready for a fight. Today's Memorial Day, and I think about all those who fought and lost their lives for our freedom. It all began with the Civil War and people placing flowers at the grave sites of their loved ones that had fought and lost their lives in the Civil War. And then it just progressed on to the First and Second World War, and then on and on. Here we are today. I wonder what all those people who lost their lives would think about how America is today. These deep divides that we have in our nation, it is resemblant of the Civil War times. Deep, deep divides. And it seems like some political powers are wanting us to be divided and wanting us to be fighting against each other, and I don't think that's what God has in mind for us. We need to cross the aisle and bridge the gap and not point out all our differences, but point out how the fact is that we are all Americans and we really do need each other. If COVID hadn't taught us anything, it should have taught us that we cannot stand alone. We need others. We need community. And when we are isolating ourselves from others, when we are putting up walls and barriers, that's not a way to live in happiness, and that's not freeing. So back to my story of what happened this week. As you may know, I'm getting married in, less than 2 months. I can't believe it's coming up so quickly. But so I had bought a dress from this dress shop in Petoskey. Sweet, sweet ladies that work at that dress shop. Oh my gosh. Petoskey Bridal is amazing. And I bought my dress there. And the reason I actually bought my dress there is because when I was looking for a mother of the groom dress for my son's wedding, I went there and I was like, basically I had been heading to the beach. And so I wasn't like really well dressed or really put together that day, but they were so kind. They were just so generous and so kind. They treated me no different than the Queen of England. And I just felt so blessed by them. that I was like, if I ever buy another dress, I have to go back here. And so that's what we did. We went and shopped for my wedding dress there and actually found my wedding dress there. And so at the time, the owner, who is a seamstress, couldn't do anymore. She wasn't taking on any more work for the springtime because of some family things going on with them. And they said, oh, well, here's a list of people in the area, and not necessarily people that they endorsed or whatever, but just people that they knew that did seams work. And so I had, since January, had this appointment for this week. So, and the thing is, like, when you have a wedding dress, it just takes a lot of time to have things like altered and fit perfectly for you. And I'm so anticipating going and meeting this lady and, having those finishing touches for my dress. And I went out to this lady's house and she was so incredibly rude. And she just wasn't listening to me. And she was basically saying, no, we can't bustle your dress. We're just going to have to shorten the whole thing. And we're going to change this and change that. And she was very negative about my dress. And I was in a hurry because I had to get back to work. And I ended up on the way driving back to work, just thinking about everything and being like, oh my gosh, like, there's got to be a different way to bustle that dress. And and so I sent her a text saying, hey, instead of trying to explain to her over the phone, I sent her a video and said, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Can we, instead of cutting everything off, can we do this instead? And finally, I just got more and more nervous about it and just not trusting that she would be able to do a good job or just what I wanted or what I envisioned for my dress. I ended up calling her. I said, I don't want you cutting anything off the length of my dress. And she was just really snippy with me. She's like, well, it's 2 inches too long on the side, is an inch long in the front. And that's just my opinion, like, just really, really sassy. So I was just like, oh no. And knowing that how busy seamstresses are this time of year, I knew it would be really hard to find somebody else to alter my dress. And so I just reached out to the Petoskey Bridal again because they're so awesome. And they were like, oh no. And so they actually, the owner ended up offering to do the alterations for me. And oh my gosh, what day and night different. And, I could be bitter. I could be angry about the lady that was so rude, the other lady. And I'm not. I just remembered, because I had to drive back out to her place and get my dress and then take it to the bridal shop. And the whole time I was just singing and praising God. And I knew that God had something different in mind. And sometimes we go through really awful things and really upsetting things to get us into a position where we can receive a blessing from the Lord. And this meeting that I had with the Petoskey Bridal Shop and the owner, she was just so incredibly sweet. I found out that she's a Christian, and then she told me she has other podcasters and other bloggers in her family, and she gave me their information, and all these new possible contacts have come out of this bad experience turned good. I say all this and I tell this story just to help you remember that, one, kindness goes a long way. And if that lady, the first lady I went to have my dress altered, if she had shown some kindness, I wouldn't have had any trouble trying to explain to her and talking to her through things. But she was so rude and she was so snippy with her words that I just didn't feel like I could trust her. On the other hand, the bridal shop, they were so sweet and so kind, even when I didn't end up purchasing my mother of the groom dress from them. They were just so sweet and so kind that I wanted to go back there. it's just a testament of the whole thing that kindness matters. It totally matters. Holding the door for someone or saying thank you, giving a nice tip, those things matter. And as we are thinking about Memorial Day and our country, I am just grieved at where we are as a nation. We need Jesus. We need to be loving towards one another and kind towards one another and not pointing out differences and digging deeper divides. Jesus said that we're supposed to love our enemies and pray for them. And I wouldn't call the seamstress lady an enemy, but I have been praying for her because obviously she's under a lot of stress. She's overworked herself. She's not at peace at all. And so as you are going through your week this week, just remember that small acts of kindness, they open the door for you. In Proverbs 18, verse 16, it says, "Your gift makes room for you and brings you before great men." And your gift doesn't necessarily have to be some spectacular thing. It could just be a sincere compliment. It can be a sincere thank you. It could be opening the door. It could be just encouraging someone with your words. Your words are gifts that you can give people. Your words, your mouth has the power of life and death in it. You can speak words of blessing and you can speak words of cursing, and you have the power to choose to brighten someone's day, to make a difference. This is all just a great reminder that we need to be sharing God's love and His goodness with those around us, with just being kind, opening ourselves up to notice those around us. And if you see someone that looks downtrodden or you see someone doing a great job, make sure you reach out to them and try to encourage them and even just share a smile. That was one thing that's been so crazy in the medical field, all my patients wearing masks and wearing a mask myself. And I remember one day just sitting in the office with someone, and they had come in and they took their mask down and they were sitting there and they were smiling, and I just thought, oh, I just miss that. I miss being able to see the smiling face of my patient when I make them laugh or, we're talking about things. And obviously not every encounter with my patients are happy or fun, but I always try to bring a little bit of lightness into the office with me. But man, we need each other. And this Memorial Day, those souls that have gone on before us, that have risked their lives and sacrificed their lives for us, we owe them the debt of living our lives as Americans free and loving of those that are in our country, whether we agree with them or not, whether they're the same skin color or not. We should be loving them. We should be enjoying relationship with our friends and neighbors and our family and giving God the glory for all He has done in our nation over these many years. So I hope this end of May, beginning of June, you are enjoying your life and finding joy that is unstoppable as you reach out to others. And I tell you, that kindness is contagious. When you have someone that is kind to you, you just want to be kind back. You just want to embrace them and share that smile and give generously. When people are sour and negative, it's so easy to be negative back, but that's not what we're called to do as Christians. We're called to be salt and light. And I pray that as we go forth into the rest of this year, that we are looking for ways to reach out and share kindness
in his arms.